Okay, good morning. This is our nap practice for a little new moon and middle of winter, just past solstice and pre-Christmas preparation. Um, Mostly because that's what I need. So I'm assuming at least some of you out there could use a little extra nap time. Um, as well as it's just a way to sync up with the energies of the season of hibernation, at least in the northern hemisphere. That deep yin essence that carries us through the winter time, the dream world, the underworld of winter. Before we get into practice, I wanted to just share a little tidbit that I found so fascinating from this book, Why We Sleep, Unlocking the Power of Sleep and Dreams by Matthew Walker. I read this probably a year ago when I was trying to sort out and get some new perspective on some patterns I've been experiencing in my sleeping, which I have not yet quite resolved, but it's been a journey. But there's a lot of just fascinating research in this book. But the piece I wanted to highlight for today. Hi there, folks. We're just doing a little intro to nap practice. So this is from this book, Why We Sleep by Matthew Walker. And so it's just a short paragraph that I'll read here. Many of the explanations for why we sleep circle around a common and perhaps erroneous idea. Sleep is the state we must enter in order to fix that which has been upset by wake. But what if we turned this argument on its head? What if sleep is so useful? So it's setting up like the many people approach the sleep question as a presupposing wakefulness as the original state, and like, why did animals start sleeping? So what if we turn this argument on its head? What if sleep is so useful, so physiologically beneficial to every aspect of our being, that the real question is, why did life ever bother to wake up? Consider how biologically damaging the state of wakefulness can often be. That is the true evolutionary puzzle here, not sleep. Adopt this perspective, and we can pose a very different theory. Sleep was the first state of life on this planet, and it was from sleep that wakefulness emerged. It may be a preposterous hypothesis, but personally, I do not think it to be entirely unreasonable. Me neither. We won't get too deep into the theory right now, but I just wanted to posit that as a really interesting tidbit that actually is, I think, has some parallel reinforcement in some of the mystic traditions and like the layers of consciousness, for example, outlined in the Kashmir Shaivist tradition. So anyway, if you want to nerd out about that with me at some other point, we can do that. But for today, we'll at least let that be sort of a premise for allowing rest to be kind of a return to a more original state, a more original way of being. So we'll just start with a little bit of wiggles, because often at this time of year, even though the darkness is beckoning towards rest, towards quiet, there can be, my mentor was saying recently this week, that there can often be a restlessness in that, a resistance to that. So it's good to sort of acknowledge and tend to the restlessness and sort of give it a little direction to flow in. So we'll just take about a minute or so, and you may need longer, to let some movement, some activation happen in your system. So maybe some wiggles, maybe some shoulder rolls or head or neck rolls, maybe some belly stirring or some spinal rolls. Folks who've been practicing with me, you'll know kind of the routine of movements that I take folks through. And then I'll often do a little brush down or a little rub down or a little tap, again, as a way to sort of go with the flow of whatever might be a little stirred up or agitated, and give it a chance to sort of move through the arc of activation and then deactivation, settling, just like the breath in and out. And any little sounds or sighs that feel like they want to happen, feel free to do that. And if you're joining, I'd love for you to say hi in the chat if you want, and where you are, and yeah, maybe on a scale of 1 to 5, how much you need a nap. So thanks for joining, letting this be your nap time. Okay, so feel free to keep a little movement in whatever you're doing, a little gentle touch or a little movement through your body. And I'll invite you to come to a posture that is going to feel good to settle in for a little bit. And you might end up changing it, and that's fine. And we'll move from the layers from the external world, external sensing, towards that more inner world sensing. So feel free to look around with your eyes. Feel free to listen for a moment through your ears. And sort of as if sort of tracing back the journey from the outward in, perhaps start to sort of unwind or reel back your attention. At some point, if it feels good to close your eyes, you can do that. So kind of winding up, recoiling your attention from the outer world. And I'm kind of imagining, from our reading, like with that sort of sensory consolidation, like going back through the evolutionary chain, just to a simpler and simpler existence. And you might let your outer sensing turn towards the inner landscape and find some sense of the texture or quality of your inner landscape. Yeah, I'm kind of getting the sense of, like, walking back out from having 4 legs back into the ocean and being held in water, that kind of more primordial state. So feel free to keep a little liquidness in your belly and your spine. I'm sitting up, but I'll welcome you, invite you, encourage you to lay down. Almost as if gravity could sort of pull or wind us back to that more primordial state. And having been sort of coaxed back into that ancestral home of the ocean, maybe down and down and down, and settling to the ocean floor. I'm imagining like a little jellyfish or a little sea sponge settling. And receiving, inviting us this quality of receiving that embrace of the yin, that deep yin essence, the dark waters, the dark earth. If you're on your back, there might still be like a little rock of your knees or some gentle brushing of your hands on your belly or your heart, maybe an opening, closing of the jaw. Resting back now into the breath, maybe the breath expanding in your belly and softening. And sensing for, again, that very primordial pulse, like the jellyfish, filling and releasing. Your breath filling and releasing. As if it could occur with as little effort on your part as possible. Barely a muscle required for that yin breath, that darkness to fill and release. See if you can dwell a little longer each time in that exhalation, in that emptying, that release. Settling, heavy, your muscles heavy, your skin heavy, your bones sinking, heavy. It's arguable that our dominant culture is sort of frozen in that, I guess, the opposite of nap practice. The in-breath, the active, the yang, the doing. So without making it another doing, can you feel for the frequency of that other piece, that balancing release of effort? Heavy through your eyeballs, your eyebrows, your lips, your tongue. Heavy, soft through your throat, as if the deep ocean were holding you. Heavy through your heart, soft and heavy through your belly and ribs. Still your breath, fluid, soft, like a little piece of seaweed, anchored, flexible, heavy through your leg bones, your feet. And see if you can pay even a little more attention without effort, without forcing, to that moment right at the base of your exhalation, coming all the way to stillness. What is that original quiet, that original stillness? What in Genesis we might call the deep. The void. Beneath the dream state. That pregnant fullness that gives rise to the dream state, to the waking state. Sinking, resting, heavy, down. You are welcome to stay here as long as it feels useful to you, as long as you like or need. So I'll let it be a soft close on my end. Wishing you many blessings of this dream time, of this pre-dream time. Right now in this moment, over the coming days and weeks, these holy times of stillness and darkness and quiet. May we touch into that original, loving, holding womb from which all things arise. And so it is. Blessings to each of you.